everyone. This is Kathy Mason from MasonWorks Marketing here on Conscious Business Zone with my friend Tonda. Hi, Tonda.
Hi,
Hi.
Kathy.
And Tonda's name is Tonda. I'm going to try to make sure I don't do it wrong. Tonda Nampaio-Cardenas.
Yes.
Yay. Yay. So Tonda and I got to meet last year at the IANS conference in Washington, D.C. And she is an amazing, amazing, loving healer that has a nonprofit. She had an exhibitor table up on the 14th floor with us, as well as she and her husband, Joe, were running back and forth doing free healings in the healing center. And I was just so impressed. She somehow had composure, which I wouldn't have, going back and forth doing all of that. But somehow you had this just this wonderful knowing and support, inner support about you that was just so beautiful. I was so glad to meet you and Joe. So Tonda, why don't we, for people that haven't met you before, we're going to talk about your nonprofit in a little bit, but how did you get involved and why were you interested in the near-death experience group?
Oh, wonderful question. I am a childhood trauma survivor that resulted in a near-death experience when I was 9. And I was just so lucky to be a part of IANS last year to actually, at the 50-year mark, to share that publicly. It took 50 years, right? But amazing 50 years in between there, lots of stuff going on. So we got lots of great things to talk about. But that was my start.
So can you give us a little more? Because I was stuck in with the exhibitors. I didn't get to see anyone's anything. Could you tell us a little bit more about your story? So because I'm hoping that your expression of your experience will help open up other people to their multidimensional aspect of themselves and realize what a gift they are, and to stop blaming and shaming themselves and enjoy this ride. So that's why if I don't want you to go through pain to tell it, but if you could talk a little bit about what happened and what you experienced, maybe that would help them. Okay.
I'm privileged to do that. I'm honored to be here with you. Thank you for asking me. And I love sharing my story because I think that if I could say one thing about my near-death experience, if I had to put it all into a nutshell, the experience that I had on the other side, what I brought back was that light I was enveloped in, immersed in, lovingly, that's exactly what it was, is love. And it was very simplistic compared. My experience, my NDE was very simplistic compared to many. So as a child, I was going through trauma at home, and therefore that was the reason that my near-death experience happened. So I had a severe head trauma, and it going into that light saved me. It saved me. It allowed me to realize that there was something better than what I was going through. I didn't know any better, and I didn't want to be here anymore, and I could go through and tell the whole near-death experience, but I think what I would really like to do is just let everyone know from my heart to yours that when you have an experience, no matter what it is that you come away with on the other side, that there's no right or wrong. It's all wonderful, but it's the message that you need to be getting, that your spirit needs to hear, that you are needing so desperately. And my love goes out to you, to anyone who has had a near-death experience, or for those have loved ones who have done that, and you're wondering what on earth, what do I do now? It's just, it's all about holding space for yourself and for those that you love, and being able to just find your little fulcrum point. Find your center, and allow that love to just envelop you, because that's all it is. Seriously.
Beautiful. So, how different is a near-death experience, at least in your experience, from a spiritually transformative experience or an out-of-body experience? Do you feel that there's a huge difference? I found that I was always out of my body from being 8 years old or younger on. I had to get into my body.
Yes, I totally agree with that. And having had, since my near-death experience, I was having trouble reconnecting back into my body. And that is a very important point to make here, that I'm going to be bringing up quite a lot today, because it was hard to fit back in to this human form, and to understand what was going on. And then, of course, not having anybody to talk to about this, I thought I was losing my mind. It was a derogatory situation I was in, so that just exacerbated those thoughts. And it took me a very long time to become comfortable, I guess, to let all the little pieces fall into place, to filter where they needed to. It took time, and there's nothing wrong with giving yourself time. Give yourself that grace to have that time. Yes, but having an outer body experience is definitely something that would happen more and more frequently after my NDE. Having spiritual experiences after my NDE, I've had visions. So I think jumping into my story, I think, would probably be one of the best things that I could do, because it'll make a little more sense. So like I said, I had the childhood NDE, and then going through back into that traumatic experience at home. But nature. I did not feel comfortable inside of four walls. I needed to be outside, and I needed to try to find God again. I knew who I was with on the other side. There was no question about that. And I wanted that back. And it made me sad, really, in a lot of ways, that I didn't have that. And I wanted that back. And the closest I could ever come was being in nature. And so I was a wild child. I was a wild child running through the forest, playing in the leaves, covering myself up with the leaves, waiting for the deer to walk by, because I was so stealthy. I just became one with my little world. And it was my saving grace, and it always has been my go-to, my touchstone here, to be able to make sense of anything, because in nature doesn't lie. Nature has all the answers. And the the beautiful part of this part is that I didn't really know my mother. I was taken from her and lived with my father and his wife. And as a child, I really didn't know her, and I didn't know anything about my background. And I would become an adult before I found my mother again, and to realize my heritage, my indigenous heritage. So all of these little things that I was doing as a child, I felt very odd, like I didn't fit in. and was told so on a regular basis. So it became a kind of a, well, it was a double-edged sword. It was really hard for me to put into perspective what was going on in my world. But the loving light kept guiding me. It just kept guiding me. And as an adult and finding my mother, finding my heritage, realizing things started to really filter into place, and I really started to bloom then. I really didn't talk that much about what was going on with me, with people, because I could talk to the animals all day long, and my trees and my nature, but there was nowhere to go to when I was little.
Yeah.
And so it became such a blessing, such a blessing to, as an adult, to finally start filtering and things coming into fruition. So I was raised in a first responder household. It was very traumatic. There was always something going on. My father was not the abuser; it was the stepmother. And my father was the first responder, so he was gone a lot. And you know how those first responder schedules are; they're just not there. Well, it was hard for me to. Um, it was hard for me to put into place. I think until I was almost 18 years old. I was about ready to graduate high school. And I had a very loving choir teacher. She was so amazing. I loved choir, using my voice. Felt like it was part of that loving light experience also. So very art oriented person, I became. And to tell my story for the first time to my teacher, it just came out like I was having this moment, and, in the choir teacher's office, and she didn't quite know what to do with me. But I was falling apart because things were changing. And but she was there. She was there for me, and I will love her always for holding space for me. And I think that was one of the most important things ever, because when you tell someone about your experience and you're kind of dissed, I guess, when people either they don't know how to relate to it or they don't want to. So not everyone's ears are ready to hear something like that, but she was that day. And I just was truly blessed, because it set me on my journey, my trajectory as a young adult, to start honoring what I knew in my heart was already there. So so first responder family, then marrying into the military and having 4 children and raising my family and being part of nonprofits and writing programs, nature-based programs for my mostly for my children's benefit, um, and their friends. And to be able to do that was really something to be part of a military community and something bigger than myself, and giving service. Um, it was the start of everything. So I think the most pivotal point then was actually some very big life changes that were getting ready to happen. And I I just had to flow with it. I didn't know what to do. They were beyond my comprehension of what I was getting ready to deal with. But I had found my mother just, a few years prior, and I was already reaching out to elders, and I was just being myself. And part of the changes that happened, I was told, well, you're trying to be something that you're not. And because people didn't believe They didn't want to believe my story. They didn't want to believe my background. They didn't want to believe the indigenous part. They didn't want to, I mean, people in your life that, you grow up and they have their ways of looking at things, and it wasn't that. So I was very alone, but I was stepping out bravely into my journey. And I remember telling my father, no, I'm not trying to be what I'm not. I'm just trying to be everything that I am. And
That's beautiful.
I was already working with some elders, and I was working with veterans, and I was, the hospital, the veterans hospital, with those who had PTSD, which I have, and severe trauma for 18 years can really create some issues. So I had been trying my whole life to work on my little issues, and it was always helpful for me to reach out and know that I wasn't alone by trying to help others as well. So my world blew up, and I was suddenly a single mom with 4 teenagers. God help me. And I was in Arizona, which is pivotal to this story because it's where everything started. I was with some very good friends, went to Sundance and support, not to dance, but to be there and support. And I was praying so hard that I just find my way. And I had a vision. I was so blessed to have a vision, and I've never shared this publicly, but I think I would like to today. Because this was my ethos and my beginning of all of my little eggs that I had, and my tools in my toolbox, and putting my eggs in a basket, so to speak. It was my reasoning for everything. So I want to tell my little story very briefly. And if I start crying, I've got my eagle feather here. I'm already starting.
We're honored that you'll share. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for honoring me, for listening. That's beautiful. It's such a beautiful space here, Kathy. Thank you. Okay, so I asked for guidance and clarity, and I had an outer body experience of actually having an angel visit me, and we were ascending, but I was in hawk wings because that's what I wanted. I wanted to feel my nature and be a part of this. And I was shown a lot of things that were just amazing, again, on the other side, that I was going to be okay, and that I was on track, and that I was part of the love and the light, and that's all that I needed to be. I didn't have to be or do a certain thing, and I didn't have to live up to anyone else. It was going to be just fine. And I was working with the Tucson Indian Center briefly, and going to some of their meetings and some different things, and 12 steps and some things. And I had some very dear friends that were there for me, and I will always love and appreciate that. I'm in my sacred hoop. I'm in my sacred circle in Arizona, and it was about 4 a.m. and I was having a little bit of a meltdown. And I had been to the Sundance, and I had prayed for guidance, and it just came upon me like no other. So I was in a dwelling, and there were a lot of Native people with me, and someone came running in and they said buffalo were here and we're going to go do the hunt. And I was so excited because I was raised as an by an outdoorsman, and I was always outside and hunting and fishing, and that was my life. So I was so excited to go, but I realized that I was on my moon, my period, and that was not going to be allowed. And they were so excited because that meant that I got to stay behind and actually pray for everyone. So I went on to Mother Earth and just was kneeling down, and I was praying, and I was kind of looking up, and there was a hill in front of me, and I was praying for a good hunt, and I was praying for everyone's safety, and I was praying for the love and the light just to surround everyone, and it be a very, very good hunt. And that's what I was focused on. But the grass in front of me started moving with the wind, and then the grass started changing, and they changed into buffalo warriors. I couldn't believe it. There were men, fierce buffalo warrior men, standing there in front of me, and they didn't have to say anything. At first I thought I was going to be afraid, but because they were so fierce, but I just looked at them and I was in awe, and I knew they were there for me, to protect me, because I was going through some very, very bad things. And I just, as soon as my fear, I swallowed my fear, and I just was in awe, and I was thankful. And as soon as I got to that level of gratitude, they turned into bison themselves, into the brown buffalo. And they started running, across the hill. Well, I wanted to run with them, so I get up and I start running up this hill. And as I get to the top of the hill, there are brown buffalo everywhere. There's a huge herd of buffalo, huge herd. And I kept running after them, and I was laughing because I knew it was going to be okay. And I was it's just so grateful. I just felt the same way I felt in my NDE about the love and the light, and but the most beautiful part about all of this, which is amazing, and I still have, is that the brown buffalo started turning into white buffalo, and there were just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of white buffalo, and they were just running across the horizon, and then they just became part of the clouds, and they were running in the clouds, and I was just running with them, and then the wind just, they were gone, and I was just standing there, and I just immediately was like jolted back into where I was in reality. And I'm like, no, I want the other reality. Thank you. And so my white buffalo vision, I had to really pray about that. And like, what did that mean to me? I asked some elders, and as many elders as I got a different answer. Ultimately, a very wise elder woman said, you're the one with the answer. It's your vision, and it's your answer. And that's when I just knew that all of my tools I've been putting in my toolbox, that I was going to be able to help people by continuing to write programs and taking people out in nature and creating and holding space for people who have either had trauma, they're military, they're veterans, underserved women, and even children who needed to learn about nature. So those are the cornerstone programs that we have now for our
Wow. Oh, thank
Uh,
you so much for sharing that. I mean, the opportunity for people to see the messages that in their own way of what you had. I mean, that's what good storytelling, and that's what a lot of um, stories that have been brought down from every culture
Yes,
are meant as teaching points. And so, you know, the opportunity for healing at such a high level, to not be afraid and to not be blaming yourself or there's a play in play, your soul or source or whoever helped put this all together for you to have these experiences, or you did, you know, who knows how that all works. But
yes,
wow, White
yeah,
Buffalo, how amazing,
yes.
how amazing. So I have a question about trauma, because you work with you. We're going to go to your website in a little bit to talk about your Red Earth Echo Discoveries nonprofit, which is quite amazing and such a gift to the world. But I have a question because you work with people with trauma and you're a trauma survivor. Do you feel, and this question comes from an interview I had with Dr. Joe Delaney, who's from England. He's a professor. And he said that everyone has to have trauma, that that's part of the human storyline, and how you navigate it is part of the game here, or whatever you want to call the setup here. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely, I
Oh,
do.
wow.
Absolutely.
Okay. And why do you think it's that way?
Well, I am convinced, and even as a little girl, I realized that I was not really a human being. I was a spiritual being having a human experience. And I know we hear that a lot and it's very cliche, but when you really look at that for a minute and delve into that thought process, it's like we're privileged to be here. We're here in this time, in this space right now with all of our gifts. We're all different. We're all different, but we're all here now. And that connection that we have is the fact that we are spiritually just having this human experience. And what are we going to do with it? We've all got the same 24 hours. What are we going to do with it? You know, how are we going to fill our time? Are we going to help ourselves, someone else? But yeah,
I
the
love
trauma.
it. I love that. Well, the trauma is the opportunity to work through it, the triggers and the
Yes,
repeating. Like I found at 50 years old, I did a whole bunch of training, and it was because I could see the patterns. I could see, oh, I picked the same man, different name, different body, but same person in my relationships. What needs to be healed? And I was a variable. I was the only constant. Is like, you can't be a victim of all these people unless you are setting it up to be a victim,
exactly.
right?
Ex-
Wow.
Exactly.
So
So
could
no
you explain?
hard.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Keep going.
Oh,
Sorry. No, go ahead.
no matter how hard trauma is, we all have it within ourselves to get through it. Don't give up. Keep going. When you're going through hell, keep on going. You know the song, right? It's so important to honor yourself and real and step outside of yourself long enough to realize that the trauma is just a part of your story. It's just a part of it.
So, so many people get stuck in their story. I think it's fascinating to me, um, how we shame and blame ourselves so much and hide who we really are. to
Mhm.
others, although they can read it. They can read something's not authentic there. How do you help people get through that? I mean, I know that we'll go to your site and you can see, people can see how beautiful your setup is and how nature can heal. But um, when people's nervous systems have been on alert, like the PTSD cycle, and I think it is a cycle, it's almost like a treadmill, you just get stuck on it.
Yes.
How do you get them off of that? How do you help them heal that? Is that too naive of a question?
Not at all. Not at all. And it's the hope that that's what happens. But what you have to, well, I have to look at it like, what does healing really mean? And to me, healing means that you can find some level of acceptance and you can find some gratitude in that, that you are able to be thankful for what you do have and your blessings and your gifts, and that you get on a level with that trauma that you can be grateful for it. And I know that sounds absolutely insane, because trauma is trauma. It's traumatic even being born, you know. And we're here and there's always trauma, but it sounds overly simplistic. But if you can use your breath work just as one tiny example, there's grounding, there's earthing, there's tapping, there's Reiki, I mean, I can go on and on and on. And there's a lot of different things that we use in the retreats that, by other gifted, I'm not the only one that's taking care of you here. A retreat is a multifaceted thing with a lot of beautiful people with their gifts that they share. But just to reel it in and just say, start with your breath. You have to breathe in order to live. You have to breathe. So use your breath work and find your center. So you're not doing this constantly. Just try to find your center, that so you can start looking at everything in a more healthy way. That so you can step outside of yourself long enough to see yourself and give yourself some grace, and look at yourself from the outside long enough to realize that you're in this like everyone else. You are unique. You're beautifully unique, but we're all made of the same thing as the stars, right? So we're all in this together. And I can't say enough for just start with the groundwork.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, so you're in Arizona, you have these amazing experiences. How did you get to Colorado? Because you're now in Colorado.
Oh goodness. Well, that's called life. Yes, I'm in Colorado now. I am married to a very beautiful Native man, and um, he and I have this wonderful life together that we're creating since we're recently retired. So he was working government jobs and all of this. So things had us going all over the place. But we have landed in Colorado now, which we love. Colorado is total nature. You can't go wrong with that. That's like heaven on earth to me. We have everything from mountains to canyons and everything in between. So yeah, it's amazing. And now that Colorado is home, we're currently in a very rural community, and we have set up shop, so to speak, right where we're at. and this is just been within the last couple of years that we created the nonprofit. You need to understand, I created Red Earth Warrior Walks, that program, in 2001. I was going through all of that. So for over 20 years, I've been doing this on the sly. I've been doing this wherever I was, bloom where I was planted, gift people, honor people, learn, continue with my elders. Now that I'm an elder, can't believe I just turned 60, really. So I'm like, you know, um, it's a hard transition going from a warrior to an elder. That's not easy. So in the process of that, it's always a learning curve. It's always learning what we're doing. So my husband and I are very blessed. We're honored. We're very grateful to have 40 acres at the moment. We're looking for our forever home, to do things, but we do have things available right where we're at. We'd like to do things in larger ways and larger numbers and have larger groups. But right now we can have up to 6, but that's a very intimate group for healing if that's what you want. We can have larger groups at a time if it's not an overnight thing. But yeah, we feel very privileged. This was my father's 40 acres. He was a firefighter. He loved this 40 acres and lots of nature paths. We have lots of different things going on here, a natural bee tree, things like that. That we feel so, it's a very rural farm and ranch, farm to table community. So there's lots of vineyards and orchards and things like that. And there's a national park. You can see it from the house. Black Canyon at the Gunnison. It's a beautiful canyon. And so the Grand Mesa is the largest flat top mountain in the world, and it's right here in our face. When we look at our sunsets at night, it's that's what we're looking at. So we have many things that we do here, and we're very excited to share. And as we continue to grow and look for our larger ranch situation, we're just going to keep everybody posted.
Oh, that's so cool. Well, let's go to your site so people can see a couple of pictures of everything. Here we go. Let's pull this up. So here is your site, and you can just have me navigate for you, pull it down. So why don't you let everyone know what the site name is?
It's Red Earth Eco Discoveries, READ, a nonprofit. We are so excited. That's I was told that I would be a reed, a conduit between worlds.
Okay.
And that has been, so when it came up, that it just, everything fell into place. It's like spirit is working here. So
beautiful.
Isn't this lovely?
Oh my gosh.
That is our ranch right now, and you can see to the right, you can see that the teepee skeleton that's our big 24-foot for our ceremonies and things. We have other teepees as well, smaller ones, but you can see that large flat mountain in the back there. That's the Grand Mesa.
Wow, right there. Okay. And then is this a picture too from your place?
No.
Oh, okay.
That's
beautiful too. So are is the earth really red there? Is that why you called it Red Earth?
Yes, we have within the western slope very red earth. And yes, that's one of the reasons that I named it what I did.
Oh, yes. And do you have peaches right now?
Oh my goodness, yes.
I wish. I love that. You know, they charge $70 a box here for them.
Oh, oh, no.
Yeah, just enjoy it. So here's another picture from your site, and then we're gonna show Joe here too. There's the two of
There,
you. Is that cool? So, and how is Joe part of all of these ceremonies when you put it all together to have healing ceremonies and your retreats? Does Joe do a big part of it?
yes, he does. Yes, he does.
Wonderful.
He, um, he is my rock. He's wonderful, and we're so blessed to have him. He was raised on a ranch in New Mexico for a portion of his childhood.
Uh-huh.
And so we're very earthy people. And, we love the rural lifestyle, and it's very quiet, and it's good for people to be able to get away to enjoy time with us. So, yeah,
I
that's
think retreats or seminars where you get away from your environment that doesn't remind you or get you back into your groove that you've
right.
become accustomed to are the best way to heal or to shift your mindset, because you really get a chance to have a perspective. And that's what, they say time heals all wounds. When you look at things in hindsight, you can find the beauty in it. But if you're in it, you're in a difficult relationship and you go to a class and then come home to the difficult relationship and then try to go back to the class, it's not as effective as actually getting away, right?
Yeah. An immersion is very, very key for most things, I have to admit.
Yeah.
So we love that, and we love taking very, very good care, all inclusively for and that means that you come as a friend and you leave as family.
Oh, that's beautiful. And that's what we're missing. That's what we're missing. We had to hold the secrets in because it wasn't safe to tell,
Right.
or to share it. And we didn't have a way to integrate it. That's like your near-death experience when you go to IONS, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. When you go to the International Association for Near-Death Studies, either the experiencer groups, which are online and in person at the events, or if you are in local chapters, you hear other people, they can articulate what you felt. There's a lot of times you don't have words because it is all here. It's not here, it's here. And then you land back into this strange environment. And how do you integrate the two, right?
Right. Exactly. That is such a beautiful description. I love it. That's part of that holding space for each other. Um, so, we can do privately, but it's almost better to have a group,
Oh,
um, an intimate group of like 6 to a dozen people, because you get to see that you're not alone. You get to hear
mm,
and the expressions, like you said, for someone else to be able to say something that's like, oh, I've never said it that way. That's exactly right.
right.
And that is so healing in itself, right?
Right, right. That you're not alone, that you're not a freak of nature, that
Yeah,
that there are words, that someone else found the words and is peaceful with it too. That's the other thing, is if they're brave enough to share it and you weren't, which I wasn't, I had a spiritually transformative experience, and then I had, within a day or so, had to be at the airport.
oh,
And
yeah, hard.
and
Oh,
that was over 20 years ago, and I'm still experiencing it every day. I mean, it's really amazing. This creation is quite amazing. So could you share a little bit about what you're going to do? We're going to segue now to Tonda. Last year was with me at Ions, and this year I think you get to speak. Are you teaching too? You do a speaking and everything. So she and Joe had a booth and we're doing stuff all over the place last year. So this year, I hope you're being more kind to yourself. You didn't have a reference point to know how much was too much, but
But but it was perfect. I have
oh,
to say,
good.
like,
Okay.
perfect.
Oh,
No
good.
worries. It was our learning curve, and it was such a privilege to be a part of IANS and get to meet beautiful people such as yourself. And we have made such beautiful friends this year, and it was amazing. So we were right where we needed to be, and that's my nature anyway. I'm like, I just want to get in the middle of it and see what's going on, and I mean, I don't hold back. So um, but this year, yes, I'm very, very excited to say that we were asked if we would like to do a workshop. I had submitted some ideas, and this year we're doing a workshop on the sacred hoop and what that means. What is a sacred hoop in the indigenous world, and how you can utilize a sacred hoop to on your journey and your daily walk, and how you can recognize um, the patterns that we see in our NDEs, our OBEs, our STEs, our on and on and on. There's patterns. If we know that, it's easier to see something coming at you faster, and you recognize things, and you're able to actually create lessons and learn from it instead of just drowning in it. So it's really, I love patterns. I love patterns in nature. We know where the sun comes up and where it sets. We know, you know, spring is following, and we know these things. And nature is such a wonderful way to recognize and honor patterns. And so we're going to be talking a lot about that, the sacred hoop itself. And I'm an art therapy practitioner, and an artist. So we're going to be creating little mini canvases. Everybody's going to get to play and have fun, and create something that represents their NDE or their STE, or just to doodle and have fun and learn something. We're going to spend a few hours together. We're going to be doing some really amazing fun things. I'm co-teaching with Rebecca Castle, and she's a medium. And oh my goodness, the wonderful things that we're going to do in that workshop! I'm so excited. I am so
Oh,
excited.
so it's okay. I found it on the site, so I'll show it real quick. So here it is. It's on Thursday from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. And this is the conference.ions.org site. And the workshop's in a ballroom, so you can spread out a little bit, which is great. And this is a wonderful opportunity to really be transformed with others, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's going to be fun and interactive. We're going to be creating a sacred hoop on the floor, and everybody gets to be a part of that to help create it. So they're not getting talked to. This is going to be fun and interactive and enjoyable, a wonderful 2 hours of learning. And I feel so blessed to have Rebecca help me with that. Um,
Wonderful. Well, last year or the year before, I was in one of the workshops and we were having so much fun. We were making noise. And the people came over from the next room over and said, "You have to be quiet. There's a presentation going on in the next room." It's like, but we were it's like always in trouble. Anyway, rebel here. So
no,
that'll be fun.
It will be. We're privileged. We were asked to be a part of the opening ceremonies. So Rebecca and my husband Joe and I will be just a part of the opening and talking about it a little bit to share. And then of course going to be in the healing room. We love Becky. Shout out.
Yes.
Um, yeah, it's amazing. So going to be in there quite a bit, and of course have our table. And my Joe has he has time to do blessings, individual blessings. They'd like to stop by the table. We would love that.
Perfect.
We are we have our prayer ties, and everyone can get gifted a prayer tie.
Yes.
That would be lovely. So yeah, we lots of things going on in Ions, and we love it that way. We
Right.
love.
And I want to make sure that people that watch this realize that you can go to conference.ions.org and you can see the whole event. And if you cannot go physically to it, you'll miss Tonda's wonderful workshop and the healing center and all of that. But you can get the recordings. You can be on live stream. And that's what I'm hoping, that a lot of these interviews that we're doing will encourage people to participate in that way, because you'll see the energy that this group produces is a remembrance of who you really are. And when you are in that field, there is a activation from it. When you're with this many people that remember the other side, remember their connection to source, and are actively working on themselves to be that as often as possible, show up in this reality in a loving, kind, and in service way. When you're in group like that, it just amplifies everything. And it comes through the digital medium, just like this interview, hopefully will activate people. So Tonda, thank you so much. And tell Joe hello, and it's going to be great. So if you could leave someone with a thought here, what would be what you would like people to remember today and after they see this beautiful interview? And this has been remarkable. Thank you, Tonda.
Oh,
What would you like them to remember?
thank you, Kathy. I think my golden nugget that I always want to share from my NDE is that light is love. So I always say love and light when I'm ending a conversation. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. It's not just words, it's my ethos. And it's why we do what we do. And I would also like to say the title of today's is It's in Our Nature, and that's our byline for our business, for the nonprofit. And I really believe that. I really believe that. We get so lost in the busy world that we're in. And when you can get back to nature, it's all in our nature. It's in our nature inside of us to be that love and light, and the nature in reality just to nature knows. It knows.
How perfect. Thank you so much. This is just beautiful. And everyone, again, we want you to, I'll have the link to Tonda's website that you can go and find out more about the services there. And we'll also have the Ions link there. But please explore this work, because one of your loved ones may benefit from this, you may benefit from this, but the whole world will benefit from you showing up as you and being the powerful being that you are. So thank you so much. Thank you, dear.
Oh, Kathy, thank you.
Bye. Love you. Yeah, thank you.